Hey guys, it's Mike here, and welcome to LSM Monday, the first episode of my new live stream podcast series, which I'm going to be going in depth into a number of different subjects along the way throughout the course of this. This is the first episode. It's only going to get better from here, guys. It's only going to keep going even further beyond in terms of quality. And with all that being said, with my first topic here today, well, I figured why not kick it off in a way in which it's going to be much more, applicable to the content I typically talk about, kind of a big subject, which is the current state of the Dragon Ball franchise. So we're in the early goings right now, as is the case usually with live streams. What tends to happen is that people will join as it's going on, as they get the notifications, as they start to see it popping up in their home feed. So I'll give you guys a little bit before you're all rolling in, before we start getting into the subject proper. But if you're new here and you're seeing this for the first time, what I would encourage you guys to do is to subscribe to this channel, enable notifications. That way you'll be let to know every time I'm going to do one of these live streams or every time I'm going to upload a video, which, I do quite frequently these days. For a long time, I kind of stopped doing videos, as you guys might notice if you've been following me for any length of time. But I decided to come back, decided to have some more fun on this channel, talk about things I'm passionate about, and not just that, but find ways to connect with you guys. And that's why I think part of this streaming is going to be, where I'm going to be able to talk to you guys more often, have more fun, and hopefully you guys will have fun along the way with me too. If I can have you guys, be less bored in your lives or have more entertainment, then that's certainly a noble pursuit in and of itself, I would have to say. But let's take a look at the chat right now in my chat view, and I'll be saying hi to some of you guys who just joined. Okay, so we got Big Cheese Jr., a newer subscriber of mine, I believe, and hold on a second. The expected video resolution for this is saying that's 1440. How's everything looking on your guys' end? I'm streaming in 4K right now, but it's saying that there's an error with regard to me doing the the lower latency, because I want to not have as much of a delay. So if I could talk to you guys, one-to-one as much as possible, that'd be great. Are you guys getting it in 4K or is it just 1440p? I know YouTube a lot of times will downsample and downscale videos, and sometimes I even show them in 4K, which is weird, especially when you upload that kind of content or stream. But either way, let me know. But let me check out what you guys are saying in the chat. So again, let's see. So Big Cheese, thank you for joining me. Abel E, Rush J, Kazi. Hey, I get your gimmick. You're always saying hi. How's it going? Freddy Suave. That's a pretty cool name. Is that a real one or a username? Wet Bandit. Hey, you were on here last night during my non-canon stream I had. Hopefully this will be less of a mess. Let's see. Daniel Santiago Hurtado. You're always commenting on my stuff, leaving nice things, so I appreciate that. Mika, Rufus, Brendan. Oh, cool. Somebody's here from Brazil. Let me know where you guys are coming from down below or, in the live chat. I'm always interested to see if my audience is United States, if you're from other countries, if you're, a totally different time zone from me. I'm, East Coast America, so it's about 3 in the afternoon right now, a little bit past that now since I started. I actually started on time today, too, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. It's not always easy for me, especially with these live streams. I have to figure this stuff out with my borderline boomer brain. First time poster, love your content. Well, thank you, Super Saiyan Charizard. I'm a big fan of Pokemon as well, which maybe I'll show you guys some of my cards along the way. Yeah, so I think it downscaled it to 1440 for some reason because the lower latency. I wonder if I switched it to ultra low latency, if it would be like 1080 or something. Oh, thank you, AG. I appreciate that you're a longtime fan of the channel. Like I said, I'm just waiting for people to, all come into the stream before I can get super into it. So if you guys are watching this in the future, in the future, then you guys, well, I don't encourage you skipping ahead because I do like my retention, but you know what to do. Clear for me until I get home. 3 minutes or so. Yeah, that's cool. Really digging the mustache. Oh, I appreciate that. You know, it's I always I like to play around with my facial hair styles, but I've done that over the years anyway. Hairstyles, facial hair. It's like Toriyama drawing his characters, right? You know, whoever's drawing me likes to change up my style and my appearance. You know, as you guys can tell, because I used to be like more like this. Michigan, South Carolina, South Kakalaki, Florida, Florida man, Colombia. Oh, cool. ¿Cómo está? Never been to Colombia, but maybe in the future for sure. Hey, London, how's it going? Let's see. Cheerio, mate. Well, it depends what part of London you're from, I suppose. Latam. Not quite sure what that means. Latam. Latin America? Texas. Cool. I've been there too. Luton, England. Luton. Whereabouts in England is that? Never been there. Oh, South Africa. Cool. How's it going down there? Wow, Tasmania, Australia. That's pretty awesome. And no, I'm not a ginger, but I do see that comment. Seattle, Delaware, kind of close to me. SoCal, never been there, but you know, I like to travel every now and then, so I'll probably make a trip to some of these places in the future. But okay, so giving it a little bit extra time, but let's talk about some other stuff in the meantime while getting up to that, you know, so you guys have something to kind of go by. Now, with regard to everything in terms of the Dragon Ball franchise, I'm going to be talking about where it is right now and what's possibly going to be coming in the future. Not going to give necessarily all the insight into those things, but let's say that there definitely seems to be right now some big things coming in the very near future, if you catch my drift. So I'll be talking a little bit about my expectations for whatever may come in the future and how people may react to it, for example, based upon what I may or may not have hypothetically, theoretically heard. Gotta always play it like the CIA. You know, I can neither confirm nor deny, but they totally did that stuff. Oh, Croatia, cool. Never been there either. 30 miles north, awesome. And can we get some likes down there, guys? I got 79 people watching. Wow. Can you guys, let's get those likes up. I want to get at least 100 likes. Try and get this video as promoted as possible by YouTube. So when it comes time for me to talk about some of those subjects in the title and everything like that, as many people as possible will watch it, get an idea of what's to come in the future. And, you know, I'll definitely be talking a lot more in the future for sure about some of the things that are very likely coming out soon. Oh, Indonesia, awesome. I love, you know, talk about Indonesia. Two of my absolute favorite movies of all time, the Raid movies. I actually got them on Blu-ray over here. You know, I really like The Night Comes for Us as well. Yeah, so big props for Indonesia right there. You know, Iko Uwais, he's great. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the new Expendables movie when it comes out this week. I'm going opening night. Yeah, I've been looking forward to another one of those for about, I don't know, however long it's been since the last one. Didn't really like the last one as much. The first one's probably still my favorite overall, even though Arnold isn't a lot more of the second one, you know. But we'll see what the new one, if Arnold's going to be in, I would assume so. I mean, what else has he really got going on other than, like, Fubar? NL. New London? Yeah, we're getting up to almost 60 likes. Awesome. Has Josh died from old age? Says Cole Phelps. Haven't seen him on the channel in a while. No, Josh is off on his own adventures. He's doing his own training journey, shall we say, right now. You know, he's living his best life, and I'm happy for him. I like that. He's found things beyond YouTube that he really enjoys and that makes him fulfilled in his life, it would seem. So, he's on the right track there. It'd be cool to see him come back in the future, have him on the channel again, have him do more stuff on his channel, especially, depending upon what's going to happen in the very near future. Maybe he'll start talking more about Dragon Ball again. But with that being said, we'll see. I talk to Josh all the time, though. I'll tell you that. I usually play video games with him every weekend. Not as much recently because he's very busy these days, but Josh and I actually played through the entire Halo franchise last year. That was my first experience, my first foray into Halo. So I really enjoyed that. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan versus Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, somebody requested. Possibly I'll talk about that at some point in the future. I do think it would be interesting to discuss just where Gohan compares to Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Vegeta in the early Buu saga. And not just that, but Vegeta before he becomes Majin. Because I did a poll, and most people were saying at least that they thought Vegeta would win, but they only really confirm either of them are above Gohan when they become a Super Saiyan 2 against each other, and at that point, Vegeta's Majin. So Vegeta seemed confident that he could beat current Gohan and that he could beat Deborah, but Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from the Cell games, he was a beast all in of himself. Get it? He was a beast? I hope so. Okay. Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. A lot of great wrestlers came from there. Yeah, Josh is doing off-screen training, that's for sure. He might get in shape like me if that shape is not very muscular, according to Harold. Also, Harold gave me these special sunglasses, so if anyone wants to super chat Harold along the way and ask him any questions or anything, I'll do my absolute best to have him speak through me while wearing these. I'll kind of like this to give you a little preview. Yeah, hello, my name is Harold Van Hugenmuscles, but my enemies call me the Angry Austrian. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Dragon Ball. Yeah, so he occasionally will help me out there with with his sunglasses. Yeah, Gohan's Rage Boost makes it very difficult. So let's see. Okay, so while everyone's loading in, I do want to give you guys a little peek into an upcoming video I'm doing, though. Speaking of future Dragon Ball stuff, for example, this one's actually something made by someone I've worked with many times in the past, Geekdom 101. And he allowed me on my non-canon stream last night that you guys will never see unless you've already seen it. And you're a very select elite few right then and there. But I'm actually in the midst of editing a video. Let me give you a little behind the scenes right here so you could see how the magic happens here on LSM. And let me show you in 3, 2, go. Okay. Oh, wait. It's actually not showing you. Go. Okay. So I'm currently editing a video for Dragon Ball Unseen, my reaction to that trailer. And Danny's gonna be dropping that video proper, I think, sometime this week. He let me get a sneak preview, which was a mess because my internet and stuff was kind of failing me at the time. But as you can see, this kind of what it looks like when I'm editing a video. I got my number one, video, my raw footage. Usually it's way longer than this. It's only 6 minutes, which is longer than the fight between Goku and Frieza on Namek. Let me share my audio a little bit too so you guys can hear what I'm working with. This could be way more smooth and streamlined by the time I'm, several episodes in here. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the trailer for Geekdom 101's new series. Now let me actually make sure the audio is correctly edited too, which I'll do right about now because I've actually already loaded it in here. So typically what happens is when I'm recording a video like this, well, as you can see, my audio is a little bit all over the place. So as a result, what do I like to do? Well, I like to fix that. And so I've actually set up a bunch of various keys that allow me to do that in my Adobe Audition. If you guys are going to make videos in the future or anything like that, I recommend the Adobe Suite. I think they do quite a good job of it. You know, get rid of all the clicks and the noise my microphone makes. You know, let's level this thing out here too. Make it all nice and even. Raise that volume. And then touch it up a little bit. Some effects. Boom, done. Then when I go back to my audio, you guys will hear how nice and smooth it is. You heard it before, now hear it again. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the trailer for Geekdom 101's new series. Only thing I don't like is I didn't do enough follow through on that, so instead of looking at the camera when I'm doing the S sound, well, I look away. Sure you guys pick up on some of this stuff when I'm making the videos. I want everything to be perfect. It's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy. Dragon Ball Unseen. And this is the debut. I'm just going to make sure to check that out for sure. But before I get into that, for sure. Okay, so as you guys could see, begin. Clip this down a little bit. It's the joy of editing Dragon Ball content with Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going? But before I begin, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing and enabling all notifications. Looking forward to. And then so it'd be very easy to edit this whole video. I'm not going to do the whole thing on stream though. I know you guys didn't really tune in for that, but kind of give you a little sample, a little behind the scenes, because I always like to do some of this behind the scenes stuff and you know, show you guys what I'm going to be coming out with after this Wednesday possibly. And yeah, there's probably an echo because it's just coming out of here rather than me wearing headphones. So with that being said, guys, all right, I've given it a little bit of time. So let's start getting into this subject a little bit more. So with that being said, you know, I wanted to talk about the current state of the Dragon Ball franchise. Now, Dragon Ball Super came out a long time ago at this point, almost 10 years at this point, I believe in 2015. And when 2015 came around, I mean, that was also a little bit after the time that Battle of Gods came out, which I think was 2013, and then 2014 to 15-ish, Resurrection F came out, all of which I actually have behind me somewhere you probably can't see right now. But during that point in time, you know, the Dragon Ball franchise seemed like it was kind of at a current high point in a sense, to where essentially what ended up happening was that the fandom had kind of blown up again in a sense. A lot of the old fans came back, and there was a lot of new people who were jumping on the whole Dragon Ball Super craze, especially. Oh, a new anime for Dragon Ball? I'm going to jump right in. And when it happened, I was pretty excited, you know, as many other people were. And during the first episode, just like even the first intro, which not the biggest fan of the Dragon Ball Super intros, you know, except for Shozetsu Dynamic. I think that's the last one. The Limit Break X or whatever it is, the last one. You know, like the music is kind of lacking compared to like GT and Dragon Ball Z and the original Dragon Ball and stuff. But nonetheless, I will say that I was super into it. I was, you know, hyped up. But over time, as Dragon Ball Super continued to go on, I was less and less enjoying what I was seeing unfolding in front of me. It was ultimately, you know, a show that felt rushed, because it was. They wanted to rush that into production even before Battle of Gods came out, and Toriyama didn't want to do it, so they made the movies instead, which he then in turn went to work on in the second one he basically created with Resurrection F. from an old idea he had. And then everything, after that point, it kind of continued on to, for the most part, just not really be the most enjoyable series for me as a longtime Dragon Ball fan. There was a lot of things that improved over time: the animation, the music, some of the concepts and ideas, the fight scenes, but overall, I just was left by the end of Dragon Ball Super mostly not enjoying it and kind of wishing it would end. And so by the time it did end, in a really good episode for the most part, I was not quite happy with the place that the Dragon Ball franchise ended up in. However, with that being said, the anime ended back then in 5-6 years ago at this point, and we were left with a dry spell of anime. However, the manga continued on. Unfortunately, with the manga as well, I also was not a big fan of that either, which is also a shame, because when Toriyama drew the manga, as you could see over my shoulder right here, which I have all of it, and I often show it in my videos because it's the one I prefer to showcase. Plus, it's easier to get around copyright for the most part, because I don't have to constantly cut down every single footage I use to a very select amount of time and speed it up and crop it and etc., 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 just to show you footage of what I'm talking about. The fact of the matter is that with Dragon Ball Super's manga, I don't really think it's anywhere near as good as the Dragon Ball manga that Toriyama wrote. The art, for the most part, isn't as good, even though it has gotten better from what I've seen. Toyotaro, I don't think he's as good of a storyteller, whether it be visual or in general. And I feel like, unlike Toriyama, Toyotaro did not use anywhere near as many good references for his work. Whereas Toriyama would watch great classic movies and then use that to inspire his work in its own unique ways, Toyotaro would more or less just rip other content he saw off. I mean, how many times have we seen Toyotaro strip trace something that he saw, like Captain America for Goku one time? It's happened time and time again, because Toyotaro, he was a fan of the product. He came to work on the product after he did Dragon Ball AF, and people were excited about that. But overall, I feel like many fans of Dragon Ball and many fans of products in general, he wasn't qualified to actually write the real thing. He wasn't talented enough. He wasn't a good enough writer, a good enough creator, a good enough drawer, illustrator, anything like that. And so when they gave him the reins, it showed, and it's only shown every single arc, since the Dragon Ball Super anime ended too. We see his version, the Tournament of Power, is super rushed and just nowhere near as good. We see that, the arcs that came afterward are a mess. Moro, actually, I thought it was really good, and I was getting a little bit more excited about that again when it was happening. I was like, wow, this is what I wanted. And then we actually get the conclusion of that arc, which was terrible, one of the worst ones. I would say the worst, except the future Trunks arc happened. And then, we have Granola, which I don't care about. I haven't even read any of, but I did have Danny from Geekdom 101 spoil it in a video that you probably won't be able to see in the top right corner unless I go back and edit this. And beyond that, what else happened? Well, then we have the new manga arc, which is them just rehashing the movie Dragon Ball Superhero that nobody cares about and nobody watches or gives a damn at this point, because why would they? Why would they want to see a manga drawn out version created by a less talented person when they could just watch the movie, which is good? And so on that topic, that was one of the things that did start to give me a little bit more hope, as much as that is, which is the Dragon Ball Super movies, which overall I think are vastly better than pretty much everything else we've seen in Dragon Ball Super up until this point. Better than the manga and better than most, if not the entire anime. Dragon Ball Super Broly, for example. That movie was able to take Broly, a character I don't really even like that much from Dragon Ball Z, who is one of the most overrated, overhyped characters in the history of the franchise and probably all of fiction at this point, and made him tolerable. They made him a lot more interesting. They made him a lot more sympathetic, actually have a character arc, all that stuff, which I enjoyed. and it was a great visual spectacle. Then Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Now I went into that and I was like, oh, I really am not looking forward to this. They're bringing back the Red Ribbon Army again. They have CG animation with 3D. Like, why do I want to watch this garbage? But then I saw it and it was actually really good. You know, I saw it twice in theaters, actually. I saw it once in Japanese and then once in English. And then I have it on home video. In fact, I have it twice over because I have the American release of the Blu-ray. And then you can barely see it because of the fact that there's a glare in here because lighting is still not my forte. But the very glared out thing right here is actually the 4K Blu-ray of Dragon Ball Super Superhero that I got directly from Japan. It's a limited edition one, and I definitely wanted to pick that up. So yeah, the movies, they made me a lot more excited and interested when it came to everything like that. However, with that being said, what I will discuss is that it seems like maybe the future of Dragon Ball is in a little bit better hands than it has been up until this point in time. So what do I mean by that? Well, in terms of everything, you know, we have seen, and you could watch like Eaton 101's coverage of this stuff, for example, that the current head of the Dragon Room has been replaced. And a lot of the people who are behind the scenes at Toei and Shueisha and stuff like that are kind of undergoing changes with regard to who is handling the Dragon Ball franchise. So, with that being said, there is a chance that things will get better. There's a thing that this new blood actually could make things better, more magical, if you will. And so, in a sense, the fact is that when that does, in fact, occur, as we start to see more of the changes and the new regime implemented, there's a chance things will get better. You know, there's a chance that whatever new projects that are coming out in the very near future potentially will end up being really good and more along the lines of what I'm looking for in Dragon Ball. Now, based upon some of the things I have heard, there is a chance that when this truck is done, I'll explain to you what I'm about to say. Now, based upon what I have heard, I will say that there is a chance that some Dragon Ball fans, particularly the casuals who, you know, get turned off by aesthetics, let's say, will not be happy with this. They'll be very, it'll be very polarizing at first, there's a chance, based upon how they actually execute some of what they're going to do. There might be a kind of repeat in a sense of how people reacted to GT with how they might react to what is going to be discussed in the near future. And so as a result, people will, you know, form their opinions very quickly of this. For me, there are some things I've heard that I'm not necessarily a fan of on the surface. However, when it comes to it actually happening, when it comes to us actually seeing it executed, that's going to be a different story altogether. So I'm looking forward to that being announced in the near future. I'm looking forward to I think it's the New York Comic Con that's going to be coming up, in which they are going to be making a real official announcement, let's say, about what's to come. And when it does, I am going to be very interested to see people's reactions. You know, I already got everything queued up in terms of what I'm going to do for my own, because, you know, I'll definitely be reacting to that when it comes out. You know, and there might be a lot more up-to-date reviews from me for some things coming out soon, potentially, when it does. As you guys can tell, I'm being very ambiguous. Am I doing a good job? Let me know in the comments. Also, we're almost at 100 likes, guys, so let's get those likes up there. Over 100 people watching right now. Really appreciate that, you know, for early on stream like this. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying what we have so far. But with that being said, yeah, the current state of the Dragon Ball franchise, it is kind of in a limbo state, I feel like. Nobody really cares about the Dragon Ball Super manga right now, except for the hardcore Toyotaro fans. because it's just a rehash of a movie that, let's be honest, a lot of fans probably didn't like either, in large part because of the animation, and also in a bigger part because Goku isn't the main focus, because heaven forbid, Goku has to be the main focus at all times, or else some fans get really pissed off. But with that being said, I will tell you that we're still going to get more Goku for sure in the future. Like, maybe not in the way that you guys currently picture him, but we will be getting a lot more Goku to come because, he is the main character for the most part, except for when it's Gohan or Piccolo or Kurapika. Oh, wait, wrong franchise. But yeah, and when the day that it comes where Goku is not always the central focus of the story, I will not mind. However, there is a chance that the franchise will not outlast that. We'll have to see the whole Masuka Nozawa situation, at the end of the day. Because it's like, if you have a main character and his son and his other son who are voiced by the same person, who at this point, how many more years is she going to do this before she retires or anything else? And so, they're going to have to get away from him, or at the very least recast him. Now, what I was thinking possibly that will happen is that they might recast him with someone else that has already been really successful in anime voiceovers, like the voice of Luffy in the Japanese, for example. They might, although she already is voicing Krillin, having her do the voice of Goku, I don't think would be too much of a departure. However, especially since Krillin isn't exactly the focus of the show. However, it's left to be seen if she can really do a true, Nozawa voice. I mean, at the end of the day, this is one of the things that so many people in this fandom just, have no understanding of when it comes to Dragon Ball, especially American English-speaking fans, because they see the Japanese and they hear Nozawa's voice, and they're like, ugh, that's a girl doing this. I don't like Goku's voice to sound like this. He doesn't sound manly or masculine, but the reason for that is because Goku isn't supposed to sound that way. I know it's hard to accept this when you grew up watching and listening to more masculine sounding Goku, who himself, was voiced by a man in America, a number of different men. But, most people will think of Sean Schemmel. But Goku's not supposed to sound like that. Goku's supposed to sound like a grown-up kid. He's a little bit older voiced than when he was a kid, and so when he was voiced by a woman as a kid, that made perfect sense. And you know why? Because most adolescent male characters are voiced by women, in English and Japanese, because the fact that when a boy reaches a certain age, he goes through puberty. And unless he's Michael Jackson or Mike Tyson, chances are his voice is going to get a lot deeper. It's not going to sound like this anymore, guys. Yeah, I'm Goku. It's going to sound like this, because I'm Goku. I am the light, and that brings about the getting rid of the cockroach, whenever he said English stuff. And yeah, so Goku sounding like a little bit older version of a kid makes sense. And Toriyama himself has said that is what Goku sounds like in his head, from what he remembers. So that's why Goku sounds like that. And that's why Nozawa, who is one of the biggest celebrity voice actors ever, especially in Japan, where voice actors are seen as much bigger celebrities than they are in America, unfortunately, replacing her would be a major thing that would have to do. In America, they could still have Sean Schemmel, but in Japanese, it's a much bigger deal. So that's why they might even just move on to totally different characters in the future when in fact that happens, and focus on another generation. I don't think Pan is voiced by Nozawa, so they could do a story with Pan, but they would have to have Gohan and Goku and even Goten in the background and barely even ever being focused on. So there's a lot that they would have to do with regard to that, and that's why there's a big kind of deal about that in a sense. And yeah, let's see. Almost all male characters are voiced by actresses. Only exception is Aang, bully protagonist. Oh, any bully protagonist. And yeah, I think that Aang was voiced by a boy in Avatar: The Last Airbender, to my recollection. And so that is one of the issues. When he became older, it's hard for him to do that voice anymore. So either age up Aang and bring back the same voice actor, or if they do like an interquel series, kind of like they did with Super, or you would have to recast. And so that's one of the big reasons why they rarely ever use boys. I think that actually also the voice of Alphonse in Full Metal Alchemist, the original one, was a boy, whereas in Brotherhood it was Colleen Clinkenbeard, which she tries, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of her portrayals of male characters because they sound way too feminine. It's like her Gohan voice, wasn't a fan in Kai. That's why when Stephanie Nadolny is going to be doing the voice in Danny's show, that's going to be really cool. Bringing her back finally, and not just that, but her voice of Alphonse sounded like a girl to me, and it's like I know he's a prepubescent boy at this point, I guess, but either way, yeah, it doesn't really work for me as well. So, yeah, like she's good at playing feminine characters. Like I think she did the voice of Chun-Li in the English Mortal Kombat, maybe, or Street Fighter. It's been a while since I played those games, so I'm trying to remember which one she was in. All I know is Chun-Li is top tier, that's for sure. But yeah, in terms of where we are with Dragon Ball in this franchise, overall, I would have to say that we're in that limbo state. So I think in the near future, we're going to have a lot more clarity in terms of what's going to be occurring with Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball as a franchise as a whole. And even if Dragon Ball Super doesn't come back, well, that doesn't mean that Dragon Ball won't have any more shows to come in the future. It doesn't mean that they won't be doing other things with other characters, especially characters you wouldn't ever expect to actually be a central focus. Characters that seem like they're an afterthought, characters that seem like they're never going to, be focused on again after their iconic arcs in, like, let's say Dragon Ball Z, for example. There are some people, it's like, I hate this character. I don't want to see a show about him or like where he's a central focus. But we'll have to see with execution if they ever do anything with characters like that in the future, especially creepy looking ones that have disturbing Jack Nicholas type, or Jack Nicholas, what's wrong with me? Am I watching golf right now? Jack Nicholson types of smiles. Like this. I need to maybe work on this cropping a little bit though. A little hard to see my hair when I'm standing up. But yeah, I in the past I've talked about wanting more spin-off series and things of that nature. So if we can get more of them, especially if things that are coming up in the near future are very successful, and this is something that resonates well with Toei and Shueisha, then I would love to see more spin-off shows like one about, I don't know, like why not have, we could even have mini-series like a Piccolo one, something about Oob, like let's get way more stuff with Oob. That's something that we really need to see, especially because we finally did get a chance to see more of Oob in GT, and they totally dropped the ball with him. Hey, you just trained with Goku for 5+ years. Okay, bye, Oob. See you later. Now we're gonna go off in space with Kid Goku and Kid Pan, who's way more annoying and vindictive in this show, and the worst form of Trunks. Yeah. So hopefully we don't get anything too much like that in the future, let's just say. Even though there are going to be some similarities to come in the future for sure. I'll tell you that. Let's just say that some of the concepts in GT didn't die with GT, and they're going to be seen more prominently again in the future. Some of the characters who were in that show will be seen a little bit more prominently too. So yeah, with that being said, let me take a break from talking about this, and I'm going to get into you guys over here. We got almost 100 likes, about 98 likes. Can we get 2 more? Can we get even more than that? That would be cool too. 111 people watching right now. Awesome. Even better than last night when I just randomly started streaming at 11 o'clock at, my time. So let's go. Hey, it's the chat. Will Netflix try and get on the DBZ pie like they did with One Piece? I think that's absolutely a possibility. The thing is that Dragon Ball Z's licensing rights, as far as I know, are actually owned by Disney right now. Because the fact that the licensing rights for a live action movie were owned by Fox. Fox had the distribution rights, let's say. And so in turn, Disney bought Fox. They bought 20th Century Fox, who released Dragon Ball Evolution. And if the contract works that way, then that would mean that Disney actually now has inherited or purchased the rights to release Dragon Ball in live action. And thus, as a result, there's a very strong chance that they will actually be the ones who would be involved in that, unless they pass on it. Kind of like The Sound of Freedom, for example. Disney had the ability to release that for years, but because they're run by ideologues who don't really like the subject matter in that movie, they decide not to release it because, they're fools. And like every other example of their ideology costing them money over the years, especially in the past 6, 7 plus, they passed on a movie that ended up being one of the most successful movies of 2023. So yeah, we'll see. I don't really have faith in Disney if they're the ones who get their claws into it, that they could do it well. They did well with Marvel up until phase, I don't know, 3 or 4, whatever it was at this point. But with that being said, we'll have to see. But in terms of Dragon Ball doing a live action, I actually did a video years ago with Quaman on my channel where we talked about like who we would cast in the role, who would direct it. I actually said that I thought it would be good to have somebody like Guillermo del Toro directing the movies because I thought he would do a good job. Honestly, like the best director for Dragon Ball might be James Cameron, because James Cameron not only has masterful CGI in everything he does, even if his movies are incredibly boring like the new Avatar, and also so much of Dragon Ball Z is inspired by James Cameron. So imagine him doing it. Or imagine Quentin Tarantino. Like imagine Tarantino with his level of violence and amazing dialogue and his awesome direction taking on Dragon Ball Z. I mean, that seems like something that'd be up his alley, even though that would involve half the characters not wearing shoes most of the show or most of the movies. But with that being said, yeah, honestly, not to sound too egotistical here, but I always had my own desire to be the one who did the live action adaptations of Dragon Ball. I planned out the entire franchise, where it would start, foreshadowing things, picking up on things that Toriyama himself did not do, to kind of make everything flow a lot more seamlessly. And yeah, like I feel like I would bring in all the right people from various movies to do it. However, they would never let me, because not only have I never made a feature film that has been globally released, and I've never made a studio a bunch of money like that, not yet. But with that being said, I feel like you need a really dedicated fan who truly understands Dragon Ball and truly loves the franchise in order to do that. And actually, here's one person who might be able to do it if he stays true to Dragon Ball, if you know exactly what I'm saying right now, which is Michael B. Jordan. After I saw Creed 3, when I saw that movie, I was like, okay, this guy is a big fan of anime, especially Dragon Ball, and he clearly knows how to direct fights in a very visual and appealing style, and also can handle all the other aspects like that. So yeah, like Michael B. Jordan, I don't really know that he would be fit to play any of the characters in Dragon Ball as far as I could tell. Like there are people saying, oh, maybe you should play Goku, maybe you should play Vegeta. And it's like, I don't really think he's necessarily the right casting choice for either of those characters or most of the characters. Maybe Piccolo. But with that being said, I will say that I think that he would be good at directing it for sure. Although Piccolo for me, I always saw as Samuel L. Jackson. I think maybe he'd be better as Kami these days, or Morgan Freeman. But when I did my casting video years ago, I said Samuel L. Jackson playing Piccolo. Which I think would be amazing. Let me know in the comments if you think Piccolo would have been awesome if he was played by Samuel L. Jackson. I have had it with these motherfucking Saiyans invading this motherfucking planet. Strap in, Gohan. We're gonna blast them. Gohan, why aren't you doing it, you little... And then he dies. I'm the motherfucking Namekian who has long since forgot his motherfucking name. Something like that, you know. You get the idea. I think he would have been really good as Piccolo, or Idris Elba. Yeah. So let's take a look back at your chats right here. Let's see. I should shop a script around. Hollywood can't get good writers these days. Yeah, I mean, I'm so busy right now writing my own franchise that it would be really hard for me to dedicate all the time doing that. I'm doing my own franchise. I'm running my YouTube channels. I'm working on other projects outside. I'm always doing like a million things at once. So finding the time to do that would be hard, especially because it's not like, at least Peter Jackson, when he shopped around his scripts for Lord of the Rings, like he had bigger independent movies under his title. So when it came time for him to handle everything, he was way more seen as way more legitimate in that sense. But overall, I don't think that they would ever go with me unless, there's a long period of time until they finally decide to make the movies or TV show. And I've demonstrated very clearly by that point that I would be a safe bet in that regard. I would love to do it, but I don't think they would ever pick me, to be honest, especially since I don't necessarily line up with some of their ideals. Let's see. What's my favorite Super Saiyan transformation? Why? Oh, by the way, we got almost 120 likes, guys. That's awesome. Way more than I was expecting, for sure. A lot more people showing up than I was expecting, too. That's awesome. So we're going to talk more about the subject and some other things, too, along the way as well. I'm also going to show you guys how I record a video during this, because I actually saw all of the Dark Knight movies in theaters on Saturday. So I wanted to do a video for Laughingstock Cinema, so I'll just record it live. And I'll show you guys a little bit of how I record a video, even though it's going to be for another channel that, hopefully you guys check out. But my favorite Super Saiyan form, that would be Super Saiyan 4. And I actually did a video you guys can check out on my channel why Super Saiyan 4 is the best transformation. Because for me, that's my favorite. Most people, they look at GT, and even if they don't like it, they're like, I do like Super Saiyan 4. Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball Z, make it R-rated. Like, there's so much graphic violence, especially in the manga. They can never do that in PG-13. Like, they would have to dull it down a lot. And there's swearing, and things of that nature, especially in the fan subs. Like when Goku blasts Frieza, you stupid fuck! And he blasts him and kills him. Well, kills him. Because we all know that he was killed by a pair of shorts. Trunks, actually. Do you think Goku being retconned base... Do you think that if they retcon Goku's base being Super Saiyan God level in Battle of Gods, a lot of power scaling problems would be fixed? I mean, like I said in my stream last night, all of it comes down to suspension of disbelief. So the thing is that I'll probably do a video at this point. I just don't know how to title it yet. And as I've talked about in the past, titles are I don't know, important when it comes to YouTube, because so many people just look at a title or a thumbnail and judge an entire video based upon that. So if you phrase a video title wrong, a lot of people will be like, that's a stupid video, I'm not watching that, or that's too obvious, I'm not watching that, no matter how little they actually know about a subject. Because let's be honest, guys, we can all look at ourselves. Dragon Ball fans don't necessarily have the best memory of Dragon Ball. I've seen the franchise a million times. I've read the manga tons and tons and tons of times, especially making videos. And there's still things that I don't remember when I'm going through it that I know nobody else is going to remember unless they're literally reading it even more than I am, which must be really hard to accomplish. And so they'll see a video and they're like, that's obvious, this person would win, or that's obvious, this thing would happen. But It's not really obvious. You just think it is because you don't know what you're talking about. But no, that's why you gotta like title videos a very specific way. Not just that, but another thing is too, sometimes my titles might look really weird. Like they might not look natural. And that's actually by design, because the fact is that there's SEO, and SEO, search engine optimization, also plays a very key and pivotal role when it comes to creating titles for videos, for descriptions, for tags, everything like that. So would I rather have a title that looks weird but resonates with way more searches on Google, on YouTube, and so on? Or would I rather have a title that is, more accurate, but at the same time, well, not even more accurate, more condensed, more normal looking, but will get less views because of it. So yeah, I plan to do a video about that at some point in terms of whatever your question was that you just asked me and I forgot about. I told you I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I forget everything. I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I don't watch the show. I don't read the manga. No, I obviously do. I actually own it. Right here. Shueisha. Let's see. Oh, let me pop that up. My impressions of pop culture are hilarious and accurate. Oh, cool. Thanks. I'm not quite sure which impressions I did, but thank you. Younger Will Smith would be good as Piccolo. Maybe. I don't really know if Piccolo... I don't know if Will Smith would really be viable as Piccolo. Like Will Smith stays within a particular... like he's become a better actor as he's gotten older for sure, but I don't really think he would be personality wise necessarily the right choice for Piccolo, but who knows? And then he died. I feel like I've made jokes about that before in videos. What made me come back to Dragon Ball and YouTube? Well, always been a fan of Dragon Ball, one of my favorite franchises of all time, been watching it for decades, reading the manga. So, I stuck with that and continued to enjoy it even after I left YouTube. But come back to YouTube, I was really burnt out, unhappy with my platform at the time, with, the algorithm and all that stuff I talked about in that video. You could check it out at the end of LSM or whatever it was. And so I still had the feeling and desire to come back to keep talking about Dragon Ball and really just things I was passionate about. And, I had been out in like the normal world, working normal jobs, doing all that stuff like that. And honestly, I would rather work for myself. I'd rather run my own businesses. I'd rather just be my own individual person and do my own thing and talk about whatever, In the past, I was like, oh, I hate that I can only talk about Dragon Ball. Now it's more like, well, hey, I get to talk about Dragon Ball and thousands of people watch my videos and hundreds of people can watch my streams, stuff like that. So yeah, it's really down to that. Different shift in perspective, which taking a step away from everything and coming back can definitely help with that. Will I be continuing the Dragon Ball manga series? Not at this moment. In the future, perhaps, but, the problem is with the algorithm, I still encounter and run up against that. Like a lot of the things, if not everything I said in my other video, I still agree with when I left, which is that YouTube will punish you if you make certain types of content and it doesn't resonate as well as your others. And so when I was making those manga videos, I was uploading daily, I was double uploading, triple sometimes, and it didn't matter because ultimately those algorithms would impact negatively my other content. So I could upload one video, it would get 1,000 views, which is not good for my channel at all, obviously. And then the next video, which would traditionally get tens of thousands of views, would get way less than that because the video that came out before it negatively impacted that. So yeah, I think that that's the case. Hey, it's Golden Scouta. How's it going? Cool to see you popping in. Tried to have this stream more in the afternoon area, depending upon where you are. So, maybe not too late at night for my friends over in England and Europe and stuff like that, Australia. I know it's like, might actually be pretty late in Australia. But if you guys get up early over there, I appreciate you showing up. How did I manage to sleep last night? I mean, I go to sleep late every night. That's the thing. Like I've always been an insomniac ever since I was a kid. I I've never been a good sleeper. Done sleep studies, all that stuff. Nothing really helped. So basically, I just stay up or stay awake until I'm so exhausted I can't anymore, and I fall asleep. And then I wake up and repeat the process. Joe Rogan would be better as TN. I think Joe Rogan's about 6 inches too short for that, but he looks a little bit closer, and he's got the martial arts prowess. Not necessarily the acting prowess, but does TN need an amazing actor if they're just gonna start Dragon Ball Z? Hey, Spain, cool. ¿Cómo está? Hola, me llamo es Mike from Laughingstock Media. ¿Cómo está? You can see my Spanish is clearly very fluent and very adaptive to regional dialects. Someday, though, I'll be fluent in it. I'll be able to have full-on conversations with everyone in their native languages, unless they live in like a really remote place where they have a very difficult to learn language. Okay, so let's get back a little bit to everything with regard to the Dragon Ball franchise. So I think, what is it, next month is when we're going to get that Comic-Con. I might even go to it at this point. We'll have to see, because it isn't too much of a trip for me to make to go there, let's say. And so as a result, I'd love to go to that panel and cover it, maybe even ask a question if that's even a choice or even a possibility. And naturally, I would record the whole thing. So I'm going to have to see about that. I'm not really a big convention person to just go and visit. Like, I'd love to do the convention circuit in the future for my own books and everything. But in terms of like going, I don't really go that often. But it might be fun to go. Just go to New York City, walk around, go to some of those cool places, hit up the conventions. I've done conventions every now and then in the past, but if I was ever invited to one, for sure I'd go. But it's not something I normally go out of my way to do. But then again, it's I could see myself attending. I think I've already said that a million times during this video, but hey guys, it's Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going? Laughingstock Media and cinema. Hey guys, it's Mike from Laughingstock Media. This is now an ASMR stream. Let me drink some water on stream. For all the people who hate the mastication sounds, you're gonna love me drinking water. Got my giant jug right here. Take a sip of water for the working man out there, to quote the great Stone Cold Steve Austin. Give me a hell yeah in the comments. Hell yeah. What? As he used to say. So yeah, in terms of that, I'd love to attend a panel in the future, or, like if Toei and Shueisha ever like want to bring in people, even from outside Japan to work on the franchise, hey, I'm right here, guys. I've given so many ideas and suggestions over the years. Feel free to use them. Feel free to bring me in and give me a paycheck too. And hopefully whitelist my channel too, so I can make whatever videos I want in the future. And yeah, I'll help you guys out. After you guys see my new books, hopefully you're going to be a lot more understanding and receptive to the idea that I actually could help you guys out with fixing your franchise. But no, I mean, for all I know, people are going to hate them. So we'll see. We'll see. People are going to be like, oh, this is worse than Dragon Ball GT, Mike. Your books are terrible. The world building is way too good. I hate this. Your power system actually makes sense. I hate it. Where's the explosions? So yeah, do you just ask who in terms of like who Stone Cold is, or are you an owl? Are you a member of the New Day? They like to say who? Do they still exist? I mean, I haven't really seen them in a long time. Then again, I barely even watched Dragon Ball. Or what am I saying? Dragon Ball. I barely even watch wrestling. I've watched Dragon Ball so much that it's burned into my brain forever. So let's see. What am I looking for right now? YouTube algorithm. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. All right, so let's pull up the chat again. And somebody asked me something that looked interesting. That stream was non-canon, Danny. It was non-canon. We're not supposed to bring up what was non-canon. But with that being said, somebody said something interesting. Considering I was watching you last night during the non-canon event and then spent this morning's commute listening to your videos, and now I'm watching the stream again, it feels like I've had 24/7 mic. Yeah, a lot of people would charge a lot for that. So you can send the check in the mail to P.O. Box. I don't have one. Yeah, I was with Thrawn at the time. The good one from the EU. But we'll see how they handle him in Ahsoka tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see. We got what 2-3 more episodes left to go. Last one was pretty great. So hope they're gonna handle this one well as well. Well. Yeah. So with regard to everything coming out, Geekdom 101 has shown up in the chat. And so make sure to stay tuned for his stream that's going to be coming out on, what is it, Wednesday, Danny? Because he's going to be talking even more in depth about some other stuff coming up. I think it's this week you said you were going to talk about that. If not, then disregard and pretend what I just said is non-canon too. See, that's the thing, because I run the channel. Every single thing that I say is non-canon is because Harold said so. Every mistake that Mike has ever made is non-canon. He's always right, ice cold, no mistakes. If he makes some, I'll cover them up. With my biceps! Yeah, I hope he will. I certainly hope he will. He's going to flex so hard that it's going to make it to where it doesn't exist anymore. Or at least you won't remember it. It exists so that, I can monetize it. But, yeah. Yeah. A lot of comments on here. Oh, this weekend. Okay. So, yeah. Check out his thing on Monday. Or it already is Monday. So definitely check it out on 2 days from Monday, which is Wednesday. Not Moon Day, Odin's Day. Not Tuesday, nor Thor's Day, nor Frida's Day, Saturn's Day, or the Day of the Sun. Although it might be one of those two, actually, now that I think about it. Because that would be the weekend. Not the singer, though, if that's what you would call that. So yeah, with regard to Dragon Ball, we're going to have to wait and see how everything turns out. But overall, I am, hoping that what's to come in the future will be good, will be enjoyable, and a lot of you guys are going to check it out and, in turn, hear what I have to say about it. But with that said... Oh, somebody asked me a question real quick. They said, you mentioned Stephanie Nadolny is going to be in an upcoming spinoff. You'll see when Geekdom 101 drops his trailer with regard to Stephanie Nadolny and what she's going to be doing coming in the near future. So yeah, by the way, guys, since this is the first episode, I'll show you some of what I got going on here. I got different layouts and formats I got set up. Maybe I'll just do one entirely for Harold. I got the full webcam. I got the zoom in. I got the screen share, which, I usually do this for videos. You could see my chapter thing right there. I don't know where the image is. That's kind of weird. Here we go. This particular thing. You got the infinite screens right here. Unlimited screens. Then you got this little format here. This one here. I don't have that cool intro I used to have when I did videos with Josh, though. How long did it take me to set everything up in OBS? I was messing with it last night. That's why I decided to do that stream because, it was a test stream. I wanted to test some things out. Figure, why not do it live, right? And so that's kind of what I did right then and there. And let's see. Where's the camera angle for Mike's inner thoughts? See, I actually tried to make that work. It was going to be something like this. Let me see if I can make it work this time. Oh, well, apparently I can't. So 1 second. I could do this, guys. Don't worry about it. I could do this. Here we go. So it's going to be something kind of like... You're going to have to not be able to see my mouth moving. So I can't be like this. But it's going to have to be really zoomed in. So I have to be like... Did I leave the stove on? No, you could still see me talking. That's a problem. What did he mean by that? What did he mean by... Ugh, it's so annoying. That's why they do voiceovers in shows and stuff like that, because it's a lot more difficult to pull off when you're doing it like this. What did he mean by that? Something like that. This is a very focused stream, as you guys can tell. But hey, it's number 1 in time for number 2. We'll have to see how it goes. It's the stash difference. Oh, the stash cam. Yeah, let's have that going on. Yeah, there's that for sure. Every dollar you send in, I will do this with my mustache. I'll twirl my mustache like a villain. All of my plans are coming into place. Yeah, kind of like that. Yes, it is your first canned stream. Welcome aboard. It's been a very interesting one thus far. And, now I want you guys to start asking me some questions, before I decide to wrap this up. This could be a much shorter stream than it was last night, that's for sure. I'm not going to be here all day, every day, to quote, what was it, Method Man or Snoop Dogg or something like that. But with that being said, ask me some questions, and, we'll see what answers I can give you. Depends on what you ask me about. There's certain things I can't give you spoilers on, let's say. Although, like I've said, I told Danny this before too, for example, with my own franchise, I'm going to be that one type of author who's going to have to constantly cover my mouth, because otherwise I'm going to spoil everything within the first book. People are going to be like, hey, Mike, this is really cool. I really like this first book. What happens in the next one? I'll tell you what happens in every single book right now, so you can enjoy it. I'm waiting for those comments to build up. In the meantime, let me use the restroom. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a bathroom break in the middle of my freaking podcast. I never see Joe Rogan do it, as far as I know, and I don't care, because I'm breaking new ground. They broke new ground, to quote Red Letter Media when they were still good. So while you guys build up some of your questions, I will be right back. Eventually. Which I mean in, I don't know, a minute. A minute? I gotta do a be right back thing too. That would be helpful. So yeah, 1 second, guys. Well, obviously more than one if you're very literal like I am. Okay, here we go. Let's answer some of your questions. And yes, trust me, I wash my hands every time. Very nice and clean at all times. Too many times, in fact. All right, let's see. What are your questions? Are you optimistic about Super being good if it returns? No, but I'll give it a shot. I always give things a shot, even if in the past I didn't like them. That's why I give Ahsoka and like a lot of these other Marvel shows and stuff a shot. Not all of them. Sometimes I see one, I'm like, I'm not watching this garbage. But uh, I still a fan at heart, so why not give it a shot? I'm not like, that's the thing, I'm not like those channels that do nothing but hate on everything. And it's like, oh, George Lucas doesn't run Star Wars anymore, so I automatically am entitled to hate everything that comes out. And I don't like this person running Lucasfilm. I don't like what they did in the past, so automatically I'm gonna shit on every single thing that comes out because I can't be genuine and I can't have my own opinions unless it conforms to hating something that would be nice for me to not hate. But then again, some people are so locked in. It's kind of like, especially when you do YouTube, like you get so locked in to what you're discussing at the time, and like the minutia of it, that sometimes you'll hate anything even if it's not terrible. So like, especially in this day and age, people love things or they hate them. And sometimes like you're so sick of like the ideologies or this being inserted into every aspect of the story that in turn it causes you to hate everything that has that and like everything that doesn't, which honestly for me it's like CGI in movies. Like I've never been a huge fan of like everything being CGI, but it's everywhere, so it's like you just kind of have to wade through what you're seeing on every single movie and show and game and just say, well, is it overall good even if it's pushing these types of ideologies and things? Well, that's up to you to decide as the audience. Are you excited for the new Dragon Ball Super series that might? Oh wait, are you excited for the new Dragon Ball series that might make us a lot of money? Uh, I can't talk about that, my friend. If you could see a DB featured, if you could see DB featured in the game, which other universe would be suitable? Super Smash Brothers put Goku in there, for example. I know that the creator ran a poll years ago and everyone chose Goku, and then he said, now I'm not going to have anyone in it, which kind of a dick move. Why did you even make the poll with Goku to begin with when you knew people were going to pick him? Jackass. But yeah, with that being said, you know, Super Smash Brothers, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat versus DC worked. Do that. How about finally give us Dragon Ball Z? Well, not just Dragon Ball Z, obviously. Dragon Ball versus DC. I was going to do Dragon Ball Z versus DC and make it rhyme, but too late. Have I ever worked with Totally Not Mark? Yeah, I made a video with him years ago, but it was like an hour and a half long. And every time I talked, it echoed on his audio. So I didn't make it. I didn't edit the video because I'm not going to do that. Like I'm so like, I have been editing for 20 years right now. And I don't want to have to edit much more, to be honest. Like that's part of one of the reasons why I started to reduce my editing in my videos, because it's just a miserable slog when you do it for decades. And so I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'd much rather make content in a way easier format like I'm doing right here. And I could just talk off the top of my head. I don't have to write scripts. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. And, when it comes to Totally Not Mark, he's the complete opposite of that with the way that he makes his channel. He has people writing scripts for him. He has editors, he has a whole big production. And for me, I'd rather just keep it to me. I'd rather just make my videos and collab with some other people. Maybe we could do some kind of like cross collaborative project or product in the future, but I don't really have the desire to have anyone edit my content right now. But we'll see. I'm definitely never going to have somebody write a script for me. Like I need to say things from my heart, from my mind. Like I can't have somebody write words for me and say this, Mike. And, cause it won't be me. It won't be genuine. It won't be the way I've always tried to be with my content. So for other people to do that, if it works for them, that's fine, I guess. But I much prefer it when they speak off the top of their heads from their hearts, or at least when they write their own scripts, because that way I know that's from them. Have I noticed that it feels like Super is leaning heavily? Oh, I skipped a lot of this stuff. Sorry. Uh, they make this so hard to read. I feel like a boomer. Let me do full screen right now. Do I like Invincible? Yeah, I actually did a review on my channel about Invincible when the season first came out. Um, some really weird comments, but yeah, I like Invincible. I think it's good. I don't think it's necessarily as great as some people made it out to be, but then again, when people like something now, they think it's like top tier fiction. You know, for me, it's enjoyable, but I prefer like The Boys for the most part over Invincible. Even, you know, they're very similar. That's why I make that comparison in some ways. You know, they're critiquing, in a sense, the kind of concepts of superheroes, but, you know, it's yet another Superman, but evil take, you know, kind of like Superman combined with Goku, which is almost like Magistros from the Wildcats, the Mr. Majestic, which I actually also think is kind of a cool character. I remember when they fought back in the 90s, Superman and Magistros. But yeah, like, I mean, the main issue I had with it was like the incorporation of like violence. I feel like wasn't quite as good. You know, the thing is, like with a lot of American comics and stuff, oftentimes what happens is that they're not as good with adapting it to animation with the violence compared to like what they do in Japan anime. You know, that's why, for example, I'm not like the biggest fan of what they started to do with a lot of the DC content, like the newest season of Young Justice or the one before that. I saw Outsiders. I haven't seen the new one yet, Outcast or whatever. But it's also like you go from like a PG, maybe PG-13 level to suddenly having like gruesome violence and death and swearing and sexual references. It's kind of like, I feel like it doesn't fit with what we were seeing before that. So anime can pull it off typically better than they do in the West, but eventually they'll probably be able to figure that out. And so Invincible is an example. Hey, Danny, how are you doing? I'm not Danny, so I don't know. Who would I cast in a Zelda movie? Oof. That's a tough one, too. Maybe a no-name, but, like, honestly, with regard to that, I mean, if I'm going to pick, like, a blonde actor who's good in this day and age, I don't know, Ryan Gosling. He doesn't really talk much either, right? You know, so, like, no talking. No talking for Link. He can go yeah and oh and stuff like that, but please don't talk. Especially don't say, well, excuse me, princess, which he said a million times in the animated series. What are my opinions on the Snow White controversy? Well, that's another live action abomination Disney's making that I'm not going to give them any money for, like any of the other ones. Last one I saw in theaters was, or the last one I saw in general, I think, was Jungle Book. And, Oh, Golden Scouter. Hey, you asked me a question. Something I would worry about if DB was made into live action cinematic movies and certain politics. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you know, we already have a blue-haired woman who yells at people all the time. So imagine them giving her more of a focus and having her yell at Goku about, you know, about feminism and all this other stuff that they're pushing in every single aspect of our content today. Like, how cringe would that be? Like, if you want to date your movies or projects, the easiest way to do that is insert modern day divisive politics into it. And so 20, 30 years from now, when people go back and watch them and re-listen to them, everything like that, reread them, what happens? Ugh, this was this stupid shit that they were on back in like 2020 something. I'm not interested. This is cringe. I'll either fast forward or I'll stop watching. And that's what happens. Even today, people don't like it. You think they're going to like it 30 years from now? Well, maybe in this fantasy utopia that a lot of these people creating this content have, where they think that's going to happen, but no. The pendulum's going to swing back, and they're not going to be happy when it does. Let's see. Whereabouts are thee from? The United States. I'm not ever, I don't know if I'm ever going to say what state I'm from, but Northeast. I'm from the Northeast, yo. They don't talk like that around here. They sound kind of like me, I guess. Maybe not as manly and masculine, but kind of like me. Can't wait for season 2. Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it. That's for sure. Looking forward to it. I was really looking forward to seeing Dune in November too. And then they delayed it. At least it's coming out. You can't hear me? How's everyone hearing me right now? I mean, I'm talking into like a microphone that usually has like a cloud lifter. I'm just using an audio interface with it turned all the way up. So let me know, I guess, if you can hear it. You want Spawn to come back? Yeah, I've wanted a good Spawn my whole life. You know, like I grew up when Spawn was in his heyday, right? So like seeing a good Spawn adaptation would be great. And I know Jamie Foxx was going to be playing Spawn, but I'm guessing that's not going to happen now after, you know, whatever he had went on. I don't really know if they'll sue me if I comment on it. So whatever happened. Yeah, Spawn will be awesome. Somebody just commented something I wanted to, oh yeah, Ryan Gosling is good in everything. If I make live action adaptations of some of my stuff, my screenplays, my movies, books, all that stuff I've done in the past, then I would love to have Ryan Gosling be one of the characters. Ryan Gosling, Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, Michael Fassbender. I got a whole list of people I'd love to have in my movies. And Cillian Murphy, although unfortunately now I think he's going to start charging a lot more. But I had a whole all-star cast for one movie I was doing about time travel, which I would love to. I'd love to still have made. It wouldn't even cost that much money, studios who probably aren't listening to this, but we'll see. Young Justice fell off after season 2. I mean, I liked all the stuff with Vandal Savage. She's actually one of my favorite DC villains and comic book villains in general. I love the idea of an immortal character, which you'll be seeing a lot more of when it comes to my own work. But with that being said, yeah, I would love for it to be better, but I haven't seen season 4. Do I like Attack on Titan? Not really, no. I'm not going to comment too much on that. For me, I just, I've tried time and time again, but I don't like it. I liked the first season, but no. Unfortunately, I don't think it's anywhere near as deserving as the hype as it gets, but you know, we'll see how time will tell with that show. For me, it's just very frustrating to watch. Boycott live action remakes. I mean, you're welcome to do that. That's one of the things that we get about the free market and like the system that we live in right now. You can support things or not support them. That's why the thing that really annoys me, let me make this full screen because I've considered doing a video about this. One of the things that really annoys me about hearing people like talk about, oh, fans are complaining again. Fans are so titled. It's like, yeah, they are, because they're paying for a product. You are producing a product for the audience. So when your audience doesn't like your product and they voice that in the free market where, you know, they're allowed to speak, that's literally how capitalism works. It's not just greedy people making money and, you know, oh, we don't care about quality. No. The entire other aspect that most people forget because they don't understand economics is the people, the marketplace themselves have the voice. They could boycott things. They could tell people through word of mouth it's not a good product, and thus in turn it fails. And that's what happens with movies, TV shows, everything like that. So people are absolutely entitled to complain on the internet about things they don't like. Toriyama complained about Dragon Ball Super and it got better as a result. So the thing is that it always frustrates me when people say that, oh, these entitled fans are complaining, but they have every right to do so. And I completely support them doing so, even if I don't agree with their ideas and their viewpoints and things like that sometimes, because that's literally how this kind of discourse is supposed to work. Otherwise, if nobody complained, they would just keep going to these restaurants and, you know, eating shit sandwiches and, you know, snacking on them and feasting up on them and just doing it with a smile. turn your brain off and enjoy the meal. And yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think that you going out there and saying, I don't support this, I'm not going to give them my money, and getting other people to do that, if they agree with you and they believe in what you do, totally fine and acceptable. That's how the marketplace works, and that's how it should work. That's why it's called the free market. It's also a marketplace of ideas and freedom of choice. And so you get to do that, and you get to see where it goes from there. And hopefully the bad stuff will fail and the good stuff will rise. The cream of the crop always rises to the top, Mean Gene. Mm-hmm. Snap it to a Slim Jim. Macho Man with the macho madness. The macho maniac's gonna run wild on Hulk Hogan, yeah. Wait, I'm almost starting to sound like LA Knight. Yeah! Okay, well, Tomas, maybe you should turn it up. I actually have it turned all the way up on my OBS, so I can't turn it up anymore. All right, let's see. Hey, Golden Scouter again. What are you saying? IDKY, I don't really watch new anime nor have interest in doing so. I mean, it depends. Like for me, there's a lot of great anime that are out there. Jujutsu Kaisen, that's great. Demon Slayer got a lot better after season 1 for me, and I really enjoyed the second half of season 2. The Swordsmith Village, pretty good. So there are definitely some good anime out there that are newer, but for me, Attack on Titan really just isn't quite as good as any of those. I just has incredibly frustrating writing, especially with regards to the characters who I hear this is like peak fiction, the best writing character development ever. It's like, have you guys read many books? Have you seen many other shows? Have you seen Hunter x Hunter or Yu Yu Hakusho? I mean, some of the character writing in Attack on Titan is so frustrating that it makes the characters and all their actions in the Cell Saga seem normal. It'd be like if every character was Vegeta letting Cell become perfect, except instead of Vegeta just being like, I want to fight you, Cell, so I'm gonna let you become perfect. He just has a mental breakdown when he's right about to kill Cell, and Cell becomes perfect. And that's like Levi versus the Beast Titan, for example. I am the one character who kills everyone every single time I go out and fight. I'm the no-nonsense badass like Hiei. But right when I'm about to kill an important character in the story who would actually make a difference and make this fight actually amount to something, I'm going to have a mental breakdown out of nowhere. We could kill these guys. We have perfect access to do so. Mental breakdown. Yeah, I don't get it. But hey, if you like it, good for you. Attack on Titan is top tier anime and lots of foreshadowing. I mean, if you think so, that's all you. I don't think it's anywhere close to top tier, but again, that's me. Do you think comics are getting worse, and how would you fix the industry? I did a video with Young Ripa not too long ago on my channel that you guys can check out, where we discussed how modern comics can learn from anime and manga. I prefer Gogeta instead of Vegeta. Let's see. Togashi's just a gem of a mangaka. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best ever. Demon Slayer's recent arc was not that good. Yeah, I mean, I preferred the last one. I haven't finished the new season yet. I don't think it's done yet as far as I know, but I've gotten up to some of the fights, and I think Mugen Train was good aside from the CGI. Let's see. Vinland Saga. Yeah, Vinland Saga is great. That one for me is a top tier anime from recent times. I've only seen the first season, but it's great. It's a lot like Berserk. That one's better than Attack on Titan too. So many anime I could list off better than Attack on Titan, but apparently it's a masterpiece that is unrivaled and has the best writing and character development ever, and a bunch of other stuff that I don't agree with. I'm going to start getting a lot more dislikes from Attack on Titan fans, I know. That's why I don't talk about it. I try to talk about things I enjoy these days. Speaking of which, I'm going to get into I'm going to get into recording a video live with you guys here, just to show you kind of what it's like in a moment. No, I haven't watched To Your Eternity. I actually got recommended that by Black and Fist a while back. I heard it's good. Let's see. If I fuse with Danny, we'd be Laughing Geek. I don't know. Maybe it would be Geekdom Media or Laughingstock Geekdom. I don't know. I haven't watched ReZero. I've heard it's good, though. Let's see. Yeah, I worked with Young Ripa. Yeah, I just reached out to him and I proposed the idea. We made it happen, and maybe I'll work with him more in the future. You know, there's a lot of people I've worked with recently that are new and to the channel, and people I've always watched or I've always liked or agreed with some of their perspectives, and so as a result, I decided to work with them. I showed last night, but I got a video coming out soon with Plague of Gripes, and I always liked his Dragon Ball content. So I reached out to him. I knew he was a commenter on my channel. So I reached out to him in his email and was like, hey, want to work on a video with me? And we hit it off and, you know, had a super in-depth deep dive video, kind of like what I did with Juan with, or Black and Fist for you guys, with Why Didn't the Androids Obey Dr. Gero, or Gero for Danny. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And super deep dive, like 40 minutes, and it'll be about the same with Plague Gripes here. We're going to go super in depth into gravity training and how that works. Tyrone Magnus, I don't know if he's ever seen one of my videos. I haven't really watched his stuff in years, so like, you know, like maybe if he wanted to or something, if he ever reached out to me and asked me to do a video, then sure. You know, there's a lot of other people I'm working with though. I'm probably gonna work with a lot more book channels in the future actually, because, you know, I'm releasing books, so it probably makes sense to work with people who read books too, right? Hopefully you guys read books or at least listen to audiobooks, because I'm doing all of them. You know, hardcover, I can't wait to have that. My own books in hardcover, you know, I'll put them behind me on like some kind of display. You know, I'll get my cover art from my artist I got working on that, and he'll do that too. Work with Reese Witherspoon. Yeah, she probably wouldn't want to work with me, I'm assuming. But yeah, I don't know why, but I just get the impression she wouldn't want to do a Dragon Ball video. Could Yakon defeat Frieza? I mean, it was said that Goku would have to transform into a Super Saiyan to match his level of power. And otherwise, him and the others would need to team up in base form in order to fight him, like Gohan suggested. So I would assume that, yeah, he could probably beat Frieza. I mean, I don't think that Supreme Kai would have freaked out as much as he did otherwise. Oh, hey, wow. Bran, thank you so much for that $9.99 super chat. I really appreciate that. Wasn't expecting any tonight. Or today, actually. It depends on where you are. It might be tonight. Love the channel. Glad to have you back. What's next evolution in channel content? So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let me do full screen so I can give your question full address or full consideration. So yeah, in terms of what I have to come in the future, there's a lot more to come. I'm always experimenting. I'm always doing new things. I got some big videos coming out, especially later in the year. I got a lot of big videos I've wanted to do for years. And that's the thing with me. Like I said, with my new type of content, I can go out there and I can make content that I always wanted to do with so much less struggle to make it. Yeah, I don't have to like sit for weeks and weeks editing a video and just being like, oh, this is miserable. I hate doing this, you know? Instead, I have learned to min-max. And this is something I recommend for every channel out there, everyone who wants to be a channel. Don't just go insane with editing and just do everything because you can, because you have the talent to do so. Because at the end of the day, the only person that you're really going to be appeasing is yourself in that regard, because you have ridiculous standards for yourself and your own content. So for me, I decided, why not reduce the process? Why not be on camera and talk? Why not just, show visuals while sharing my screen? I basically am editing while recording in that sense because I'm showing things on the screen. And thus, in turn, I can make videos that are 50 minutes, an hour plus, that are so much easier for me to craft with far more in-depth information than I would have been able to when I had to cut stuff down, or when, I was being far more laser focused in that sense. And a lot of people kind of don't really... There's a lot of people who seem to not like that aspect. I do appreciate, I ran polls a little while back, and most people were saying they prefer my new content, which I was surprised by. I thought people were going to hate it. They're going to be like, oh, Mike, why are you on camera? Like, we don't want to look at you all day. Like, why can't you show video footage and stuff like that? But apparently people end up liking it. So I'm really pleasantly surprised with that. And yeah, now I could do way more in-depth videos that I always wanted to do, but I always thought it would just be too much for me to make it, because it would be like my upcoming video. Let's throw this out there for you guys about time travel. That was going to take me so long to make if I didn't do it in my current style. So, when I do editing, it's just to add a little bit more because I have, a little bit of fun that day doing it. But at the end of the day, overall, I can't wait to do that. I'm going to even buy a whiteboard and have it behind me. Maybe I'll put on like a, like a lab coat and maybe mess up my hair like Doc Brown and be like, time travel in Dragon Ball, just have a lot of fun with it. And I'll draw the timelines and, this is the main timeline. This is the History of Trunks timeline, the original timeline. And then, I'll be doing, maybe I'll split it into multiple videos because it is going to be extremely in-depth, super in-depth. And I'll split that part into another video probably. But overall, it's going to be a lot more fun for me to do that. So yeah, there's those big videos coming out, more live streams coming out. This is going to be every Monday, hopefully. One of the Mondays, I think I'll be doing it from Vegas, so that'll be cool. And yeah, there's going to be a lot more to come in the future. And I always say that, and I always mean that, unless I get hit by a bus tomorrow, and then I'm dead. And then there won't be a lot more to come in the future. But hopefully that won't happen, because I got too much stuff I'm working on to get hit by a bus and not survive. As long as my brain works and I could speak, then I'll be good. But I'd prefer to be able to walk around and, pump the iron and stuff. Yeah, so thank you so much, Bran, for that. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I answered your question in that rambling mist in which I was engaging in heretofore. Am I looking forward to GTA 6? Yeah, if and when it ever comes out. You guys can see my GTA 5 poster right here. And yeah, I actually got that with the game when it first came out. I think that was from my original copy before the other one was stolen. And they gave me one that has dog bite marks in it and stuff, which I wasn't happy about that when I got my other one back. They like to see my face. Are you sure? I thought that they would scream in horror when I appeared on camera, especially when I zoom in. Are you guys throwing up yet? All right, let's see what else. Yeah, timey-wimey. There's going to be a lot of timey-wimey stuff. I hate copyright related stuff, to be honest. Like, that's one of the things. There's so much I want to do with my time travel video that I can't because of copyright. Like, I wanted to play the theme music from Dark to like start everything off, or maybe even end the video. And, I want to like show clips from Dark and show clips from Terminator and all this other stuff. Maybe I'll find a way around it, but like, there's so much I want to do that's so hard for me to do because of the copyright situation. Start wearing a top hat. I'm not a big hat person, but I considered dressing up at one point like the narrator character I have on the avatar from Laughingstock Cinema. I was even going to get like somebody to make a custom mask, almost like the Guy Fawkes mask. But you know, the white smiling mask I have over there. But yeah, I just never did it. I probably never going to unless all the things fall into place. But there's a lot of things I've had in mind I would do. Can't tell if my hair is long or short. I think I've seen people comment that. It's yes. Answer is yes. It's definitely longer than it was a couple months ago. I've had my hair all the way down my back before, though. Back in my metal days. You know, when I was playing this guitar a lot more and wasn't horribly rusty like Gohan after not training for 2 days. I gotta do the still frames or use the figures. Not sure what you mean by that. But let me actually show you guys something. I'm going to do a video right here while I'm with you guys live, which is going to be for something on Laughingstock Cinema. So I recommend everyone check out that channel and subscribe to it so you can see the finished product. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to record a video about some movies I just saw last night. Or not last night, wow. Which is the Dark Knight trilogy I saw on Saturday. I would have released this on Sunday or Monday, which is today. I might release it later tonight. But, you know, that would require me not being a mess of time management. So let me pull all this up right now. I'm just like going straight off of IMDb with my reviews right now because it's like, why not? This is like the easiest way to show literally everything I'm going to be talking about. That's another thing. Min-max and that stuff right then and there. And all I got to do is edit around some of the stuff. So you guys are going to get my thoughts on the Dark Knight trilogy, which if you guys have ever seen them, hopefully you'll really appreciate this review. And this will also help me test out some more of the stuff. So, okay. So watch this right here and now as I talk about the Dark Knight movies live and also record. You're going to see behind the scenes for once, trust me. And while I do this, it's going to be one take, no mistake, which means it's going to be tons of mistakes. I'm going to fuck up so much along the way, which I'm sure that you guys are going to know because if some of you watched my stream last night, yeah, I tried to do a live reaction like 3 times and it failed horribly. So we'll see if it'll work here on Laughingstock Cinema. How's it going? What's behind the door? It's my house. What's behind door number 1? Oh, nothing. Just a house. My living room's somewhere in this general area where I watch my movies and shows, all that stuff, you know. I also got The Batman right here, which I'm planning to rewatch again. Because for me, when I was originally watching it in theaters, I was like, this might be the best Batman movie ever. And I had rewatched all the Batman movies. So, you know, going from watching them on home video to watching Batman theaters and then going to seeing all of them in theaters again back to back and then seeing the Batman home theater, it'll give me a far more definite way of saying if it actually is the best Batman movie. Either way, I'm really looking forward to it, especially if they do Mr. Freeze as the villain. As long as he isn't weird like the Riddler adaptation, but I'll get into that. So, oh, the gradient thing, that is a movie palette. I worked with them earlier this year. This one's for The Matrix. You can see it kind of looks like the Matrix lines at the start of the movie when they're going through the screen. Danny's got one too for, what is it, Empire Strikes Back, Danny? I don't know if you're here, but you could see it in my video, my picture with him on my Instagram at Laughingstock Media in the background above our heads. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I'm going to be doing another marathon review of the Dark Knight trilogy from director Christopher Nolan. One of my favorite directors of all time, featuring my #1 favorite comic book character, Batman, and perhaps his greatest adaptations of all time. And I saw all of them in theaters back to back on Batman Day this year. And so I really was looking forward to that. It was a great experience, which I'm going to be talking about in depth in this video, as I'm going to be going into each of the movies, breaking down what I love about them, what maybe doesn't hold up quite as much, especially after years since they came out, and comparing them to the other Batman content that's come out over the years. But with that being said, guys, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing and enabling all notifications. That way you can stay up to date with all my future videos. Additionally, make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Did I just say that? Additionally, if you like this content, make sure to leave a like, and that includes all you guys on the stream. Also, comment your own thoughts down below. Let me know some more of your thoughts on the Dark Knight movies and what other movies you'd like me to talk about in the future. With that being said, let's get into the video, starting with me talking about the very first movie in the series. Batman Begins, which for me, it's just an awesome movie. And, you know, it's one of the best origin movies for any comic book character, period. Great direction by Christopher Nolan. The casting of Christian Bale as Batman, I think, was a great choice. Christian Bale in the past had played characters like, for example, Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, another great movie from the early 2000s. And he did a really good job as Bruce Wayne, and also Batman, which I'll get into a little bit more as I talk more about the series as a whole. Then Michael Caine as Alfred, Ken Watanabe as Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson as Ducard, who is actually Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, depending upon the adaptation. And also, you had Katie Holmes, Cillian Murphy, Gary Oldman. You had a lot of great casting up during this film, and really helped to bring all these characters to life during the course of it. Where Batman, he starts out as Bruce Wayne. We see the death of his parents. Let me see if I can pull up some pictures during this to make it even more cinematic. See if they actually have a picture of that scene. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but there's a chance that they don't. So you know what? This is close enough. And the movie starts out with the death of Batman's parents as, you know, he became a kid. Contrast, as he became a kid, really, Mike? In the movie starts out with the death of Bruce Wayne's parents as he is a kid. You know, the introduction to him and his relationship with Rachel, which it plays a very large part in the rest of the series. Michael Caine is the butler. The whole setup with Rutger Hauer, the villain from the original Blade Runner movie, playing the head of Wayne Enterprises that takes over after the death of his parents. We see the training. We see him going to work with the League of Shadows and training himself. And Christian Bale really went all out. He went full on method with his performance here, as he tends to do, getting as big as he was in the Dark Knight trilogy in terms of overall mass. And, you know, he became a lot leaner in the movies to come, but he does an amazing job. Liam Neeson does an amazing job as the mentor character, and everything just was handled excellently by Christopher Nolan and the people who were working on the movie at the time. All right, how do I get out of this? This movie, get this stupid trailer out of here. I don't want to get claimed by WB. Even though it's a free thing that people are supposed to be able to use like all the time. This movie was a great way of reinventing Batman again for the modern age and telling a more gritty, down-to-earth version of the character, while at the same time still maintaining the general camp, because there is a lot of that camp in these movies and some comedy that a lot of people overlook because they're so consumed with the dark aspect of it. But very much like in the vein of what we saw with Tim Burton, he was going for more the dark origin type of Batman, taking a lot of inspiration from Batman Year One, for example, and making a great movie in the process. Now, that led into one of the best comic book movies of all time, which is The Dark Knight, starring, of course, once again, Christian Bale, directed by Christopher Nolan one more time, and also having one of the most iconic performances in the history of cinema, one of the best performances in all of comic book movies, with Heath Ledger playing the Joker. And he did an amazing job right here. Rewatching the movie 15 years later in theaters after I had seen it the first time there, I was watching it and I was just still blown away. Every single scene that this guy is playing the Joker is mesmerizing. He is amazing in the role. Even though it isn't 100% accurate to the Joker in the comics, it still covers the same spirit of the character in a sense, in which the Joker, well, he is a character who doesn't have a very defined backstory. Nobody knows who he is. He has the multiple choice backstory that we saw, for example, with Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, in which he is constantly changing it throughout the film. He is very much taking up the scenes. There's so much more intensity, so many more iconic quotable moments, and so many of them revolve around Heath Ledger as the Joker. You know, everything burns. Some men just want to watch the world burn. He really consumed and fully embodied that idea of the Joker then and there. Now, in terms of everything else with regard to Batman, overall, I will say that I think Christian Bale is doing a good enough job as Batman in this movie. But to be honest, when it comes to his voice as Batman, I don't really like it that much, like especially in retrospect. I think he does a fine enough job, but let me switch back to this other one so I could actually compare and contrast better. Stupid trailers keep popping up. But overall, I will say that I preferred his voice and overall portrayal of Batman in Batman Begins. Now, this is different from saying Bruce Wayne. As Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale is like the best Bruce Wayne actor, probably. You know, Michael Keaton maybe comes close. I think Ben Affleck did a really great job as Batman. He's very underrated because we barely got to see any of him, and a lot of people don't like the movies he was in. But Christian Bale as Batman, I feel like isn't quite at the same level as his Bruce Wayne for the most part. And, you know, that really shows with his ridiculous voice that he does in The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Go away, trailer. Where he's always constantly like, and there are so many jokes that have been made about it, you know, especially memes that have been made like in The Dark Knight Rises, which I'll get into soon, with regard to, where's the trigger? You wouldn't give it to an ordinary citizen. Where is it? And he keeps punching him in the face. And there's so many jokes that have been made about it over the years. You know, the thing is, when you think about Batman being intimidating, he doesn't need to sound like a death metal vocalist. He doesn't have to sound like Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse, you know? He could just sound like a slightly different voice than he did before. And, you know, other actors have done that better. Christian Bale did it better in the first Batman Begins movie. But, you know, when it came to this movie and the next one, too ridiculous. But it also does seem like Christopher Nolan has kind of a running theme of his movies where there's always at least one character that you can't understand what they're saying. So in this movie, too, we also have Aaron Eckhart playing Harvey Dent, who becomes Two-Face. And overall, even though I think the movie is really well handled, I feel like that is one of the weakest aspects of the original Dark Knight movie, where honestly Two-Face almost kind of feels wasted at the end. It feels like it would have been maybe better left for him to have his own movie, because we saw just how amazing his story was and his transformation in the Batman the Animated Series. But in this movie, it's not quite as good. I understand what they're going for, the battle for Gotham's soul, the ideologies on display, the evil terrorist type of character in the Joker, and, you know, the whole themes of like surveillance, interrogation techniques, and things that this movie is very clearly like, kind of taking a look at like the Bush administration, the war on terror, everything like that, and kind of displaying it in a way in front of us. And Harvey Dent is kind of the example of the shining knight who then is corrupted by the evil that surrounds him and engulfs him and starts to destroy him and turning him into Two-Face. So I understand that. I do think it was much better done and handled in the Batman the Animated Series, but overall he does a great performance as Harvey Dent, and the movie itself doesn't suffer too much as a result. And Gary Oldman, he's great in all these movies, one of the best actors ever, and he does an amazing job as Commissioner Gordon too. In terms of the action, I will say that in this movie, the action is way better than it was in Batman Begins, because in Batman Begins, Christopher Nolan wasn't really seeming to be as good with directing and showing action in scenes as he would go on to be in the other movies after that. And that's because the fact that, he was still using a lot of that shaky cam and the close-ups and the cutting that were really popular in the early 2000s and late 2000s, invented and really pioneered by Asian cinema, like, for example, the Man from Nowhere, and then, of course, the Jason Bourne trilogy. Or really a whole franchise. And so as a result, he in turn was, not really doing the action as good in Batman Begins. However, come the time of The Dark Knight, the action is amazing. And there are so many great set pieces, like, for example, when Batman flips over Joker's truck in this scene right here, which they did in real life. And, Christopher Nolan continues to show just how incredibly talented he is when it comes to, directing big budget movies and doing awesome practical effects. In fact, in The Dark Knight, in the Batman Begins movie, there are a lot of things I think actually are even handled better in addition to Christian Bale's Batman voice than in the other two movies. Like, for example, Gotham. Gotham feels way more like Gotham in this first movie than it does in the other two. Whereas in The Dark Knight, it feels more like Chicago because, well, that's where it was shot. It looks way too bright, way too, not bleak enough. And, it doesn't quite reach the same levels in terms of visual aesthetic as it did in this movie or in other movies like The Batman that would go on to do this again later on. So overall, I do feel like the Gotham definitely was better in the first movie. Now, with that being said, too, I also think that in terms of Cillian Murphy, I kind of wish that he had gotten to do more as well in the subsequent movies. He's more of like a cameo, but I think, he's a great actor, as we've seen him prove time and time again, like, for example, in Oppenheimer recently, and, in 28 Days Later, stuff like that. So having him be a more focal character would have been good, but at least the movies do bring him back. It's not like most superhero movies where they just like never bring up other past characters again. They weren't able to do that with the Joker, of course, because the unfortunate passing of Heath Ledger, which is still a shame because he was amazing in this movie and could have done so much more in the future. But, the fact is that, they still reference and bring back a lot of other characters from the past, whether it be the cops, whether it be Scarecrow, whether we see Ra's al Ghul again in the third movie. They keep bringing characters back again and again and again. And so as a result, what do we see? Well, we get a greater sense of continuity between them, except with regard to Maggie Gyllenhaal replacing Katie Holmes as Rachel, which honestly, I don't think Maggie Gyllenhaal is as good for the role as Katie Holmes. I think Katie Holmes has more of that kind of girl next door charm that kind of was exhibited in the first movie. And I feel like overall she was just better for the role than Maggie Gyllenhaal. Maggie Gyllenhaal does a fine enough performance, but if I'm going to prefer the two of them, I'd much rather have just them kept Katie Holmes. But because of everything going on with Tom Cruise at the time, which I'm definitely not going to comment. But talking about Tom Cruise, I talked about why Mission Impossible is possibly the best action franchise of all time in terms of live action movies that you could see in the top right corner. But nonetheless, what I will say is that she did a good enough job, but come the end of the movie, it's not really a factor anymore. Also another criticism I have of the movie would have to come down to the ending. More specifically with regard to Batman taking the rap for everything involving Harvey Dent's murders. So in order for the Joker to not win, Batman lies and he claims that he was a murderer. But why didn't Batman just blame the Joker? I mean, it's not like there haven't been tons of cover-ups that have happened in the past in reality, right? With like the police and with the government and stuff like that. You really think it would be that big of a deal for Batman to lie and just be like, oh, it was the Joker. He killed everyone. And you think that Commissioner Gordon isn't going to go along with that, or the mayor? Like, they know that having Harvey's criminals out on the street would be a problem. So blame the Joker. What's he going to do? I didn't do that. Oh, well, you're a crazy person who kills people for fun. So why would we believe you? Maybe there would be a kind of like a conspiracy that would evolve from it. And that would have been really interesting to see, maybe like that lie unraveling in the next movie, kind of like it did with Harvey Dent in Bane, which I'll get into soon. But that's another thing that doesn't really, I get it. It's great for the themes in the movie, but in universe, it's kind of like, you could have just lied in a different way and had Batman still be around. Which leads... Can you pause this? Thank you. Which leads into The Dark Knight Rises, the third movie and the capstone, the ending of this trilogy, which I still think, even though it's gotten a lot of mixed reviews and stuff over the years, is itself a great movie. It is, in my opinion, still better than Batman Begins, even though Batman Begins handled certain things better, and the performances are still really great for the most part from Christian Bale, and especially Tom Hardy as Bane. Let's see, let me pull up Tom Hardy and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Come on, give me a good picture of Tom Hardy. Maybe the "We the People" scene. Okay, here we go. And Tom Hardy does an amazing job as Bane here, because for me, Tom Hardy is absolutely one of my favorite actors, maybe of all time. He's so great in so many movies he's in. He's one of those chameleons, kind of like Christian Bale, who can change and totally adapt to the scenes that he's in. And he does an amazing job as that strong physical character who is capable of matching Batman and even straight up beating him and breaking the bat like he did in Nightfall in the comics. And when I first saw this was actually my first Nolan movie that I saw in 70mm IMAX. And it was mind-blowing in a sense. It like blew me away how amazing the movie looked, even from the very start, like at the scene in the beginning of the movie. See if I could find it pictures so I can illustrate for you guys what I'm talking about. All these things in between are going to be cut out, by the way. So you guys are seeing how I typically will record a video. And there's like 600 and something images, so I'm probably not going to go through all of them. I'll probably just give up eventually. But yeah, let me just pull up Bane again. Why does he wear the mask? And I remember when I first saw that scene where they dropped the plane out of the sky and looking down, it literally looked like you were thousands of feet up in the air. And Christopher Nolan, again, amazing director, because he did so much of this stuff live. Like he did this for real in camera. Like he literally destroyed a plane and dropped it. He literally had people swinging from bungee cords up in the air. It was awesome. And so all the action in this movie, really well done. Maybe the best in terms of camera work for the action out of all the movies, especially when we get like the sweeping shots and the 70mm IMAX that we see later on when Batman fights Bane in the final fight again. However, with regard to Bane, let's see if I could find a good picture of Talia. I do feel like his overall character kind of was a little bit cut off at the legs by the final reveal of Talia al Ghul at the end being Miranda Tate. And honestly, for me, I thought it was really kind of clear early in the movie, even when I first saw it, that she was Talia. A lot of people might not have picked up on it, but in scenes like this one, she is saying things that are directly quoted from Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson, in the first movie. So the whole time that we're hearing about like how Bane escaped and everything like that, that might be one thing, but I knew eventually she was going to be revealed as Talia. So when she does at the end and people around me were surprised, so I was like, well, yeah, I thought that was the case too. Additionally, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he does a great job in this movie too, where he plays what is often referred to as a hot-headed cop, and he basically becomes the understudy for Batman. You know, as it's revealed, his name is Robin. However, he isn't Robin. This is something that a lot of people actually get confused about this. There's something I always cut out too. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about Anne Hathaway. She looks amazing in this movie for sure. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Robin is actually the next Batman. He is not going to become Robin in the future. He's going to become the new Batman. That's why he finds the Batcave with all the suits and stuff that are in it. That's why Batman remakes the bat symbol. Everything is set up for him to become the next Batman. The ending is like the original ending from the comics of V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta did not end like in the movie with them blowing up the building and everyone just putting on V's mask and then, you know, all that stuff like that, like they did in the movies. It ended with Evie becoming the new V and nobody knowing that she's V, like nobody knowing that there's a different person. And so Batman becoming a symbol passed on that symbol to Robin, to this man right here who would become the next Batman, the next embodiment of that symbol, who would go around striking fear into the evil people who would surface in Gotham again. He no longer had the shackles of being a cop in the GCPD, and thus in turn became the new Batman. So for me, one of the biggest things that I've been disappointed by is the fact that we never got to see the fourth movie. We never got to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing Batman. Now, I think that Ben Affleck did a great job as Batman. He's one of my favorites. He looks just like Bruce Wayne, or at least I pictured him from Batman the Animated Series, and the same thing with his bat suit, most comic accurate looking bat suit. In Batman v Superman, that fight scene in Arkham was amazing. So I think that he, the Arkham style fight scene. So I think that he was great for that role. But overall, I wanted to see Christopher Nolan's next Batman character. I wanted to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt take on that role, and I'll be doing another video about that in the future specifically because I think that he might be the best Batman we never got. But we're going to have to wait and see that, maybe if it happens in the future. I'd love to see it happen. Another person who did great in this movie is Anne Hathaway, who played Catwoman, Selina Kyle. See if I can actually find. She had a lot of chemistry with Bruce Wayne as Batman with Christian Bale, and I mean, looking at her, I'm not surprised any male would have. Well, the way she looks in this movie, I'm not surprised if any opposing actor would have great chemistry with her. But the fact of the matter is, she did an excellent job here. She really portrayed that character. There are scenes where she flips a switch and she'll act like a helpless civilian screaming, and then she'll get into her badass mode and is kicking guys and taking them out and doing a really great job. In her suit is really generally well made. It fits within the Christopher Nolan style. And honestly, I think it looks a lot better than what we end up getting in The Batman with Zoe Kravitz playing her, wherein she looks a lot more like the true Catwoman here with her X-ray goggles turning into the cat ears and stuff like that than Zoe Kravitz did in The Batman with Robert Pattinson. But overall, excellent job she did here. And even though the romance is a little bit quick in some ways, I still feel like overall it was a good job here that they did introducing Catwoman, having her and Batman fight side by side, and that's going to be really good for sure. And and it really came across great, especially when they're all fighting Bane, and it just was excellently done and handled. Now, let's see. And overall, a lot of people have issues with the ending of the movie, for example, with it seeming like Batman sacrifices himself and dies. But everything is explained in the movie. There's so many things that people say are plot holes, but if you actually watch the other two movies, there are things that Christopher Nolan is constantly referencing about how, like, Batman is able to get back into Gotham because he fully understands the mapping of Gotham better than anyone else, including Harvey Dent, where he has in a conversation with him before. How does Batman walk on the ice? He learned how to do that in the first movie. How can Batman do this or that? It explains in the other movies. So many things that people are like, this is a plot hole. They weren't really. You just didn't pay attention to the other movies, or you hadn't seen them in a while by the time you watched this one. And overall, I think the message of the ending is handled excellently because Batman gets his kind of happy ending in a sense that Bruce Wayne does, doing what Alfred wanted him to do the whole time. And he even shows up at that bar that Alfred goes to in the movie, in the past. And as according to Christian Bale, they looked at each other and then they went their own separate ways, like Alfred always wanted to do, like he said in that fantasy he had. So that was supposed to have happened. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't like Inception. Christian Bale confirmed that it did in fact happen. I think it was a great ending, setting up the next generation of Fight as Batman with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Robin, and then setting up, a good happy future for Batman and the redeemed Selina Kyle. So I think that was excellently handled. We'll see if I can find a picture of Nolan so I can talk about the Now, in terms of the overall cons with this movie, the biggest ones for me come down to probably the two different major factors that are out of universe, which are, number one, the writing. I feel like the writing in this movie could have used another script. There are certain things that made it into the movie at the end that's kind of questionable, like how Robin was able to know who Bruce Wayne was as Batman just because he looked at his face and, he'd been putting on a face in the mirror over and over again. I understand what the emotional aspect that Nolan was going for there and how he was drawing parallels between the two of them and how similar they are. But at the same time, I do feel like it could have been done better. And there's other things in the script that also could have been handled better. The dialogue, especially, Bane says to Batman, "Oh, so you came back to die with your city?" And Batman's like, "No, I came back to stop you." It's like, could have been a little bit better. The scene where Batman gets his back fixed just because somebody like goes "Hiya!" and hits him in the spine could have been done better. A lot of things could have been done better, but Nolan and his brother Jonathan, they probably could have done another draft to tighten all that stuff up come the end when they actually made the movie. And not just that, but there's also the editing. There was a number of scenes that were cut out of the movie, like Bane's training in the League of Shadows and all that stuff, which they cut out for some reason. And there's other things that kind of make it seem like the flow of time isn't really as like easy to understand, like where it just suddenly goes from this one environment to it's snowing in Gotham because it's winter. He's trying to show the passage of time, but at the same time it doesn't really live up to that in a way that's handled amazingly. And then of course there's also, because Christopher Nolan was doing what he could to reduce the amount of time that was spent on taking shots and reducing the amount of film used. And that's something that Christopher Nolan likes to do, as little takes as possible. He's like the opposite of Stanley Kubrick. The problem is that not all the takes that he got were necessarily the best. There's some scenes where Christian Bale's talking to Selina Kyle. It's like you could have gotten another take for that. And then there's like a scene, especially with Miranda Tate, Talia al Ghul's death, which is just not really good. And so when she dies, it just is so abrupt and it just like doesn't feel good. And it's like, Nolan, you couldn't have done another take on that, or at least chose a different take for the editing. But I don't know, maybe she's just not good at acting in a death scene. I don't know if she's ever died in another movie before, so she looked good when she was doing it, I guess. But the fact of the matter is, like, those are the things that kind of weigh this movie down and make it where it isn't quite at the level of, let's say, The Dark Knight. Also, the themes of this movie are additionally kind of like we saw in Dark Knight. We also saw in this movie, Christopher Nolan was also touching up on some other things. Like, for example, he was talking about like the Wall Street protests and everything at the time, and the rise of more anarchical kind of idealism and things of that nature, that trying to destroy and upset the established order, things like that. Kind of Bane in many ways carried through on what a lot of the things with the Joker was trying to do. So with that being said, I will say that, it still has a lot of those themes going on for it. The acting and the actors are really good in this for the most part, and it's still generally a great Batman movie. So it's one I definitely recommend you guys checking out. All right, let me just show up the different screens because I'm going to do a little ranking right here. Show each of the movies so I could do that. So in terms of which movies I would say are the best if I'm going to rank them, number one for me would have to be The Dark Knight, the original one. Number two would have to be doesn't make any sense. You get the stupid fucking trailer off my screen, IMDb. Like, are you trying to get me copyright claimed? Number one would be The Dark Knight, the second movie in the series. Number two would be The Dark Knight Rises. And number three would be Batman Begins. Although I think all the movies are great, and for any Batman fan, they're like required viewing. And don't worry, guys, I'll get into your comments and stuff shortly, but we'll do after I'm done with this video. I'm going to pull up some other ones right now too. Pull up The Batman and Batman 89. So I'm going to draw some comparisons right now. Now, in terms of like where these movies compare to the other Batman movies, overall, I think that I prefer all of them above Batman 89. I used to love it when I was a kid. I still think that Tim Burton did a great job with Gotham, with the atmosphere, with the themes and the tone and stuff like that. And Michael Keaton did a great job as both Bruce Wayne and Batman, as well as Jack Nicholson. But, kind of like with my last watch through, when I watched every single Batman movie, Christopher Nolan just takes even Batman Begins to the next level when it comes time for this. The closest movie I think compares to them in terms of overall quality is The Batman with Robert Pattinson. In terms of this, I remember when I first saw it, and I think I reviewed it on Laughingstock Cinema, possibly. If you guys haven't seen it, you could check it out in the top right corner if it exists. And when I originally saw it, I thought it was excellent. Like, I thought after I'd watched every single Batman movie that there was an argument to be made that this was the best one. Now, kind of inverse to Christian Bale, I do feel like Robert Pattinson's portrayal of Bruce Wayne isn't quite as good as his Batman. His Bruce Wayne basically just feels like Batman without any of the costume, obviously, but also without any of the same nuance to the portrayal that Christian Bale brought. And, I do feel like, some of the other performances were amazing as well. Colin Farrell, Paul Dano. And so, when it comes time for this movie, in some ways, it's definitely comparable and maybe better than two of the three Batman movies from Nolan. But whether it actually is better than The Dark Knight, I guess the jury's out and we'll have to see more. It doesn't seem like people are voting it as highly. I don't quite know why it has such a low rating on here. It should be much higher than 7.8, whereas The Dark Knight, which you can make an argument is comparable to in terms of quality, or maybe even not still at the level of the Batman in certain regards, is a 9. So that's a big disparity right there, and I definitely don't agree with the Batman having such a low rating. It should be at least an 8.5 because it was awesome. Overall, I would say that the Dark Knight trilogy, still amazing, still maybe Christopher Nolan's masterpiece in terms of something that he himself didn't create. You could say what you will about Inception, for example. And in terms of all that, highly recommended. Everyone check them out. And you guys, maybe you should watch them exactly like I did. But let me get into that right now. Is this something that is worth the marathon review? All right, now I'm going to shift over. So, in terms of watching these movies, are they actually better when you watch them in marathon form? And overall, I would have to say, yeah, they are. Movies like this, like some other series, are way better when you watch them back to back because there's so many nuances you pick up on, so many other things that end up just making the movie that much better because you pick up on everything. You see the performances develop, you see the characters develop, you get way more reference versus if you go and wait like weeks and then watch the next movie and the next one, or even a day. When you watch movies back to back, like The Lord of the Rings, like Star Wars, like things like that, you see and understand and can remember so many other aspects that overall it just makes watching movies like this in this particular type of format that much better. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the Dark Knight movies? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you're new here, consider subscribing, enabling all notifications so you can stay up to date with all my future videos. Make sure to leave a like, share this video out, and make sure to stay tuned and stick around for a lot more to come in the future. Wow, that ended up being a lot longer than I expected, but hey, that was the point. Well, Wishing Star, fortunately it's my channel, and so you can come here and listen and think about whatever it is that you want. I don't really care if you only came here to listen to Dragon Ball. A lot of people also do that, and it's my channel, so I'm not just going to talk about Dragon Ball. I'm actually recording for a second channel right now. I'm blowing your mind. But, you know, hopefully you guys got an insight into exactly, you know, what it's like for me to record a video. You know, even for another channel. It's kind of similar to how I record my other videos for my main channel. And in turn, it ends up being, ends up being a lot of an interesting experience when I do it. It's way easier than it used to be. But okay, guys, so let's get back into some of your questions before I, wrap everything up. This is your chance. If you want to send in any super chats or any questions for me, go ahead. I'll make sure to read them, and I'll try and give as much focus as I can to them before I wrap it up. Actually, I already going a little bit longer than I expected because I was recording that video, but hey, 2 birds, 1 stone. 0 mistakes. Right. Do I think the anime will return in 2024? I don't know with regard to Super. Honestly, I mean, do you think I care? No, but seriously, I don't know. I mean, it will come back when it comes back, if it ever comes back. But there's other things that are coming out first. Pulp Fiction. What about Pulp Fiction? You said that a while ago, Danny, so I don't know if you're even still here. Hey, I mean, this was one take, right? It just, there are little takes in between. Why can't you open this? Very strange. You came to listen to Harold. Well, let's see if he's here. Yeah, hello, my name is Harold von Hugenmasters, and everybody comes to listen to me. The only reason anybody watches this stupid nerd's channel is because I always say, and you better subscribe at the end of every single video. So what just happened, guys? I kind of blacked out for a few seconds. Do I watch any anime dubbed? Most anime I watch in Japanese because, you know, any content I watch, like I try to watch in its original language with subtitles if I don't speak it. Every once in a while, though, I guess I'll watch it. Like, an anime that I don't mind watching dubbed is Yu Yu Hakusho, for example, because the dub is very close to the original source material, and I prefer some of the voices in the English. You know, but overall, I mean, it's fine either way. Like, if I was going to introduce a friend to Yu Yu Hakusho and they don't want to watch anything in Japanese, which I would try, but if they don't, you know, I'd let them, I would let them watch it in English if they want to, because it's not that big of a deal. But overall, I prefer to get them onto subtitled content as soon as possible, because there's so much stuff I watch that's subtitled and not in English. And, like I just, it's like watch a live action movie with the dub and it doesn't work as well, because the lips don't match up. At least with the dubs in anime, they try to make the flaps match, even if the words aren't the same, because they can't, because it's, different languages and it can't be one to one. But, in English, definitely, like in terms of like live action, I can't do that. And like, I remember there was this one girl I used to work with, and she told me she was watching Dark, which is an amazing show. I recommend everybody watch it. And, what happened was that she would watch it in English, not in German. And so when she watched it, she said she taught herself how to not look at their mouths when they were speaking. And I was just like, I was trying really hard not to be like, why the fuck don't you just watch it in its original language and read the subtitles? But most people don't understand, like when you get accustomed to subtitles, it's like you're not even reading them. Like your brain is just processing them immediately. So like, it's like when you read a text message, right? Like, are you just reading ANDISEEYOU and I see you? No, you're hearing somebody in your head, or you're hearing your own internal monologue saying that. So like if you read subtitles while somebody's speaking in an anime or a movie or something, you'll just basically hear in your own language with their voice. Like you get so accustomed to it, you forget that you're even watching another language. And when you get really accustomed to the other language, eventually you'll start to understand it without even reading the subtitles. Like a lot of times I'm actually to the point where I watch an anime or something where I can listen to what they're saying in Japanese. I'm like, why did you translate it this way? Like, why are the subtitles saying this when they're clearly saying this instead? So, it's a whole different thing. But at the end of the day, the voices that the voice actors in Japanese are saying are what was intended by the voice director and the people who made the show. And that's really what it comes down to. Like this is the way it's supposed to be seen. This is the way that it was intended to be seen. So would you rather see something made the way it's meant to be seen, or would you rather just see in the most easy way possible for you to watch it so you can, multitask in the background rather than reading subtitles? Even then, a lot of times I'll be watching anime in Japanese with subtitles. I could be playing a game. I could be doing this or that. But if I look for a split second, I could read everything they're saying and I get everything immediately. So, it's so much easier. Watching everything with subtitles is better. Like when I was watching the movies in the theater, I was like, I wish I had subtitles here. I can understand Bane's voice a lot more now than I used to when I first saw the movie and I could barely understand what he was saying. But at the end of the day, I should include that in the review too. But at the end of the day, with subtitles, you never miss dialogue unless you're illiterate, and then you're going to miss all the dialogue. But, there's so many times, especially in movies now, it's not like back in the day where actors were, that's another thing too. I should have mentioned sound editing. I think that's a big flaw of Nolan's filmmaking for the most part. But, back in the day, everything was clear. They had that transatlantic accent. Okay, Sonny, well, I am going to be discussing this in this movie, Instead, it's everyone's mumbling and stuff nowadays, and the music is way too loud. So if you're watching things with subtitles, well, way easier to understand. You'll never miss out on what somebody said. What they say, I couldn't hear them. You just read what they said. If you have like vision problems, 100% I understand why you can't use subtitles. Like if you can only hear, but even then they have like, so like if you're blind, for example, they have subtitles that describe things on the picture for you too. Like they have audio voiceover, things like that for audio tracks. So overall, I get it. Like it's not everyone can read subtitles. I totally get it. But I think it's way easier. And for me, I have dyslexia. So if I can read the subtitles, if I could write books, if I could read all your comments and stuff and follow along with it, what excuse do a lot of other people have, right? It's literally hard for me to read, but I could still do it. So that means you could do it too for the most part, right? So yeah, long tangent. Hopefully you get the point. Let me try and read a couple more questions before I wrap this up for the inaugural edition of LSM Monday. You prefer the voice actors in Yu Yu Hakusho, that's fine. Have I seen Cowboy Bebop? Yeah, I've never really been that into it though, to be honest. I've tried. There's a lot of things going on in it that make it so I should really enjoy the show. I rewatched half of it recently and then I just kind of stopped for some reason. But yeah, like I get why it's important. I get why people love it. There's definitely a lot of good stuff in it, but I just for some reason I don't know. It's like Ghost in the Shell. Like I should love Ghost in the Shell, right? Like it has so many themes I like. But whenever I watch Standalone Complex, I've seen Cowboy Bebop a number of times all the way through. Same thing with Standalone Complex because it used to be on Toonami and Adult Swim, so I just watched it because I was bored, and I just never got into it. Like I liked a lot of the concepts and ideas, but most of the time I was just kind of bored. So I don't know quite why that is. A lot of those shows that aired back then I wasn't into, like FLCL. I never liked that show. I saw it a bunch of times. And that's the thing with me. Like if people say something is great and they praise and they say, Mike, why aren't you watching this? For me, it's like, well, I'm trying. Like I watched it and I'll give it a chance and, I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance. But then a lot of times I watch the whole show and I still don't like it. And it's like, what do you expect from me? Am I just supposed to be forced to love something and pretend I do because you do? I don't know. So that's kind of how it is with a lot of shows for me, or a lot of popular anime that I don't like, and not for contrarian reasons, just literally I don't enjoy them, and sometimes I don't know why. Yeah, I mean the thing is, like you say that you've been a slow reader, for example. So um, there are definitely ways to increase reading speed. Like one thing I'll tell you is I read way faster than I used to. I think I used to read 450 words a minute. Now I can read like at least a page or two a minute. So yeah, like there are definitely things you could do. Cut down on your own internal monologue when you're reading something. Like you don't actually have to sound out everything in your mind when you're saying it or speak it out loud. Just like process the words. And you could always fast forward and rewind, So like if you miss something because it goes by too fast, you could pause it, you could rewind. The thing is, even watching all these action heavy anime I do, I never have a problem keeping up with the subtitles. The only times I ever do is when like they're poorly implemented, like they put white subtitles over a white screen or something. It's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to read that? Or they have like three people talking and three sets of subtitles, and that could be a little bit difficult, but you get used to it over time. Usually with those streaming services, you can also change the subtitles too, like make them easier to read and stuff. But yeah, like there are definitely ways to speed read faster, and there are people who read books and books a day. Like there was this one girl I saw videos of that read like 1,500 books in a year or something crazy like that, which is like, processing that afterward is definitely hard, but you could do it. Like I've read books in a day and stuff a number of times in the past. I've read mine like way too many times this year. My first one, that's you know, we'll see in the near future if you guys can get your hands on that. I'll definitely be talking a lot more about that to come. Don't worry about that. But yeah, any other questions before I go? To wrap this up, the debut edition, inaugural edition of LSM Mike, LSM Monday. Be there or be square. All right, guys. Well, with this being said, this has been the first edition of LSM Monday, which ran longer than I expected. That's typically the case, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. If you did, let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. I will be doing this every single Monday for the foreseeable future, unless that changes for some reason. Also, make sure to leave a like, share this video out, and thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. But with that being said, stick around, because there's a lot more to